United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
This is the caucus on Tuesday, January 9th, 2018 at 6:30 p.m. Please call the roll.
Mr. Fulkerson?
Here.
Mr. Bashero?
Here.
Mr. Smith?
Here.
Mr. Stefano?
Here.
Mr. Pinella?
Here. There are two amendments to the agenda. We're moving number 3 for funding the Citywide Development Corporation to this time, and also number 6, which is the sidewalk and light maintenance. And we're adding this, which would be number 7, but it's the net neutrality resolution. This time there's no public comments. Depositories. First one.
There's only one, isn't it?
Is there? That's the only one I see.
Yeah.
Is a vacant lot. Mr. Bidder is James Reynolds, and it's in Park Avenue.
I believe he's here. Yes.
Oh, are you? Sorry, you would like to come up?
Jason was given this as well, but I don't.
This deals with the mini cell towers that can be placed on utility poles.
Okay.
And the fear is that if this begins to be more prevalent, then cable companies will withdraw any potential franchise fees because they will also just utilize utility poles without having to pay for our right of way, which is why we have the cable franchise fee.
Can they do that?
There's a possibility. It's not known yet, but you don't want to give anyone any ideas, which is why you want to try to limit this. No.
Well, it's an unfair market for wireless broadband not to have to pay a fee to municipalities when the cable company does. Am I correct on that?
Correct.
Well, they don't want to pay any fee.
No, they wouldn't pay a fee.
They wouldn't pay a fee, and the fear is that Comcast would then just follow.
Right. I would not want to lose that fee that we get from the cable.
Right. Yeah.
That would hurt us immensely.
That's
So,
a good chunk of money.
yeah.
That's a lot of money that we get.
Yeah.
Right. That's what I'm getting at. So I would do everything we can to not allow the wireless broadband to go throughout the community without a payment of some sort.
I agree.
Also, any discussion? So
Do we have to pass a resolution?
There's a resolution in support.
Okay.
Okay.
Got it.
So for Thursday, Jay?
Yeah.
Thursday.
Thank you.
Next is the Caucus Interbelt discussion resolution. It's read in paper. The state wants it.
That's, I mean, I think that's fantastic. If they're going to take it over, they can fix it, they can maintain it. I mean, they can certainly.
Is there any
Better than we could right now.
any downside from administration or anybody else for that matter? I'm just curious.
I don't know.
This is yours, the Caucus Interbelt.
Right. I think it's a great idea, and Taylor is going after it. This is a project under the county, and I think that we have a hard time maintaining that road.
No, just go from where the fire station starts all the way to the red light on Fall Street.
Yeah.
Okay.
The main downside would be losing control of it.
But
Well, if you lose control of it and there's some sort of development that you want to take all the way to the water, you're not going to be able to do that because the road is going to split the Galleria from the water.
I understand. I think.
I'm not in fear of that. But you do bring up a good subject, Jason, is that years ago the city would abandon the beltway to allow events to happen down there. If we give up ownership to it, you're never going to ever do that in the so-called future. You'd have to get permission from PennDOT to do anything like that. Am I correct on that?
That is correct.
So what would that do to the downtown parades that actually start there? Would they have to go to PennDOT for permission?
They would.
Okay.
Yeah.
But either that or form in the Galleria and come out on that for a parade route. Okay,
I'd also like to think that if we're gonna have any development down there, that they would work with us.
well, I would say the state.
Right.
There's another issue that you should be aware of. Truck traffic will go that way.
Yes,
Stay out of the downtown, which is what we don't want.
I agree with you
And,
on that.
but maintaining is another issue. We just can't maintain.
I think
I-
right now the pros of the state taking it over
I don't have a
outweigh the
problem.
cons.
Right.
The only possible con is something that isn't even happening, which would be it not being a road.
Right.
Because we would be using that. So it doesn't seem that's gonna happen. But I'm just curious if there was something I was missing.
I would agree with the mayor. It alleviates a lot of his public works, people from going down there and trying to maintain it and that, and it's in deplorable shape to begin with. If you figure it out, if the state's gonna take it over, they're probably gonna resurface it and clean it up, and it'd be much better for our traffic flow around the city.
Do they have to, we just tell them, yes, it's yours.
We need a resolution.
You have to draw up some.
I think we should, resolution that we give it to the county,
Well, they,
or something.
yeah, we would tell them that we're interested in giving it up, and then the process will start from there. We don't need to do anything right
Did
now.
they approach us?
Yes,
Okay,
Dan called me.
okay,
I
good.
thought it was a good idea, and so that's why I presented it.
What-
to you.
think so.
What commitments have they made about improving the road? Because the
We
tip
don't know
program,
yet.
yeah, well, the tip program is already closed, so it's not gonna open up again for another 2 years. So tip funding's done for 2 more years. So when are they gonna make these improvements?
We don't know what improvements they make, we're just getting the okay to go ahead with it. They need our
I
cooperation.
definitely think it's worth looking into having further discussions and going from there. But the devil is always in the details.
But we don't have the funding to get it fixed.
Correct, but neither does the state at this point in time.
Right. It takes the burden off of us.
But if they're not gonna make the repairs immediately, then as Councilman Fulkerson said, then that eliminates our access to parades and things like that. So I don't know how important that
We'd
is.
rather praise.
Right.
Yeah, we give permission.
I'd say maybe get with PennDOT and see exactly when they would plan on resurfacing, making any improvements, et cetera, and have that in the agreement with them.
I can have RAR talk to Taylor. That's the guy who, Taylor doing the executive project. That's good.
Okay.
Okay, I'll do that. I'll talk to him.
But still move forward with the letter that we wanna let it happen. Thank
Okay,
you.
so what action are we taking? Are we gonna
Well,
do something on Thursday?
nothing on
No, no action needs to be
Nothing today.
taken at this point.
The mayor's gonna talk to Taylor and talk to the engineer.
Nothing
Right.
official, so no resolution.
Right.
Nothing.
Next is a net neutrality resolution.
Yeah.
Mr.
I brought this up, I think the last meeting we had.
Right.
And that was, I wanna say, a few days or maybe the week after the FCC ruling against net neutrality. And there was 2 directions I wanted to go with this, and that's why I wanted to have the discussion. At some point, there's gonna be probably action by Congress. I was hoping we could have a resolution to send to Congressman Kelly and to our 2 senators. Also, there is an action by a number of state attorney generals. I wanted to see if we could send something in to support that, as long as our Attorney General Shapiro is involved in that. So, I'd like to know if that's possible, if we could do both. However we would want to go in that direction. Would there be any legal problem to that? If it would pass? Okay. I think our community, net neutrality helps us. We don't live off of content profits or service profits. We live off of content that we can all use. So anyway, I'd like to explore that. Jay?
There'll be a resolution, a support resolution for Thursday, and it's primarily focused towards the lawmakers, but it could always be sent with the same intent to the AG.
We could do that too? Okay. That's all. As long as we can talk and vote on that.
I don't have a problem with it.
Thursday? You say
Yeah, it's ready to go.
Written correspondence, Newcastle Hospital Authority, letter from Attorney Parada.
You were all provided with this, well, I don't know if you all were, but Bill, you were copied on this
Right.
letter, as well as Jason and the mayor. This is regarding the concept of the city taking over the Newcastle Hospital Authority. So Jason can discuss further.
Yeah, it's not necessarily the city taking over the hospital authority. The city is the founding entity that created the authority. The authority is an independent authority under the Municipal Authorities Act. However, its purpose is negated now with the sale of Jameson. So typically when the purpose of an authority has pretty much run its course, the founding entity can request the authority dissolve themselves. And that's certainly a possibility. The second possibility is, yes, the purpose is negated right now. However, if there are multiple hospital entities that end up coming into Newcastle sometime in the future, it probably wouldn't be a bad idea to maintain the authority. It can just become dormant. But in order for it to become dormant, they're not going to have any money, but they will still have to provide an audit. It will be what do they call it, a zero-sum audit.
Yeah.
So they wouldn't have the money to pay for an accountant to do that zero-sum audit. They would probably look to piggyback off the city when the city does their audits, if our auditors would do their minimal audit too. I don't know what the cost of that would be, but
very much.
It's
all zero. There's nothing there.
It's all zero. They wouldn't be spending any money. They wouldn't be taking any action.
The names on it. That's about it.
Yeah, but the city at one point went through the trouble of creating the authority. It probably wouldn't be a bad idea to just maintain it as a dormant entity for the time being until you see what happens in the future.
So that would just like suspend any activities they do, like meetings or things like that. They just
I don't even know if they meet.
They met once or twice that I know of.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah, you basically have two choices. Let it go dormant, do the audit for them, but keep it existing, or have it dissolved. And then
Sounds like letting it be dormant. Sounds like it is.
there's really no harm in it.
Do you have to say anything to
We would let them know, yeah, and Stephanie and I could let them know that. If it, whatever you guys actually would want us to do.
Is there an annual audit?
What's that, Tom?
Would it be an annual audit?
Yes, it would be an annual audit.
They currently use, well, I call them Harvest Walker, but,
Yeah.
and Arnett,
Yeah,
Harvest.
it's still.
I mean, we would use our auditor to
Right.
do it.
Yeah.
And you're probably talking, even with just a basic audit, you're talking probably 1,500 minimum.
just to be zero every year.
Oh, yeah, because I mean, that's what they still have to do a report, they still have to,
They're fine,
yeah, I mean,
certified.
yeah.
When was the last time they filed an audit?
You do it every year.
They do it every year, and Arnett, when I talked to Lou about this, Arnett was a lot more expensive, but of course they had activity.
Yeah.
But Arnett's an expensive firm, not that ours isn't, but I mean, I'm just letting you all know, it won't be under 50.
1,500. Then dissolve it.
I mean, you're looking at minimum 1,500 probably.
That's insane for zero every year. It's going to be zero to have no money.
If you're not gonna
We could always-
utilize it.
We could always bring it. I mean,
Get rid of it.
You can-
Yeah, we can always, you can recreate it.
You got effort.
yeah. Just how about we just? My
You
opinion
making a
is
suggestion?
I suggest we just dissolve it. I pay a minimum of 1,500 every year.
Why don't we, just do a resolution.
Thursday.
Yeah, requesting resolution for Thursday, requesting for the hospital authority to
Okay.
dissolve
No,
itself.
Okay, so agenda, resolution,
And it's a, 2-line resolution,
requesting,
the hospital authority to dissolve itself. Pursuant to Municipal Authorities Act.
I'm wondering, since we're already into fiscal year 2018, are they on calendar year, Stephanie, correct? Or are they?
I wanna say that they're, hold on one second, I think he said it in here.
I'm kind of cruising through this letter and I'm not seeing it.
Well,
I don't
Won't make
know,
any
to be
difference.
honest.
it won't
I don't know if
make
their
any
calendar is
difference. It won't make any difference because you're gonna have to get, tax clearance anyway
Close out.
to close out, so it's
That's right, you're right.
Can we ask Mr. Parada, being that they asked us to dissolve it, if they would pick up the expenses for us to dissolve the authority?
Well, if they have any money in the accounts, they would utilize it to dissolve.
Okay.
Wouldn't start approaching.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
No money, then we just.
Can we
Dissolving
suck it
is not
up
an
for one
expensive
time?
proposition.
No.
Dissolving
One
is
time's
not.
better than 10 times.
Right.
Okay?
No. $7.
Okay, nothing else under the agenda, executive session?
I have
Oh,
one
okay,
thing to
I'm sorry, go
add. This is just informational, there's no action needed. But I did ask, Mr. Pinella to sign this on the behalf of the city. We're turning over $841,815.53 of delinquent real estate taxes for 2017 over to Portnoy. This is just city. We'll have to do the same certification for the school, since we're responsible for collecting, but the school board is required to sign that. I looked at last year's. Last year we turned over 824, so it's within, it's a little bit more than what we turned over, but prior to Portnoy, we were turning over about 1.5. So, theoretically, I mean, it's still speculation on my part, but the point of Portnoy was to go after the delinquent payers harder, more aggressively, which a lot of people didn't necessarily like. But the point of that is conceptually, they never want to deal with Portnoy again, so they pay their current taxes. And you can see the trend here is working, because if we're turning over less delinquent, that means that people are paying current, getting your cash flow in your current year. So again, this is just informational. Mr. Pinella did sign it. We will turn it over to Portnoy, but I wanted to bring it up because I want you to see that the trends are moving in the direction they should be.
We get anything from Portnoy, tell them what they collected for the year.
I will. I'll get their year-end report,
Okay,
and I'll provide that with you. But I think we were close to 700,000 for last year. So now remember, they're collecting whatever year we switch to them, because money's still coming in from tax claim from those.
15.
So prior to 15 is
15 or
tax
16.
claim, and then so if they collect 700,000, that doesn't necessarily mean it's all from 16.
No, I understand
You know
that.
what I mean? That could be 15
Yeah.
and 16 or so on and so forth.
I
But
just wondered how the collection was.
I'll show you when I get the annual report. I'll show that, as well as Berkheimer's when that comes in. So those are all good
Any other
information.
questions? Nothing else?
When they
Go ahead.
calculate that, do they pick up the 2 months in 18 before you close your books?
For real estate tax, we're not allowed to do that.
We're not allowed, okay.
So we collect real estate taxes through like January 3rd, and then I have to close it off. That's the only revenue that has a close off date, because the state requires us to cut off and submit to delinquent by the 15th of the month.
Good,
So.
okay.
Anything else? Go to executive session?